safety guidelines. There's all kinds of guidelines we live by, right? Well, for example, when I was a kid, we didn't need seat belts in a car. In fact, we had station wagons. That was kind of popular. And you'd get in the back of the station wagon, and the driver would see what they could do to you. So they'd spin around real fast, and you're sliding back and forth as a kid, thinking, this is great. You would sit backwards and look at the cars coming towards you, right? We had all kinds of fun. But then they came out with safety guidelines. Like, this isn't right. You should be seat belted. You should be buckled up, right? Another one, a safety guideline is no smoking on airplanes. That only went into effect kind of recently. And in some countries, the light comes on and they smoke anyway. So they're like, well, what's the point if it's not being followed or enforced, right? But, I looked it up. Safety guidelines is a set of instructions that provide direction and education how to perform a specific task, right? Somebody said, guys don't read the instructions. And one guy said, you know why? His wife said, why? He said, because you didn't come with instructions. So if I if you didn't come with instructions, why should I read any other instructions? What does it matter? So I thought that was kind of funny. But in a similar manner, the Bible gives us safety guidelines on how we should live, right? And so we need to know what some of these guidelines are so we can operate within it. And on the same time, know what it isn't so we can change our behavior, modify whatever so we can be safe, right? I grew up in a neighborhood that was a little rough. For fun, we would jump off of bridges and land on trains. I don't know if everybody else did that, but it's like, I know it wasn't very safe. And you look back and think, what was I thinking? You're just thinking, can I do this? I think I can do this. Now, if the train's moving really fast, you think, that's not a good idea. I don't want to land in between the cars. But if I just want to jump off and land on the car, I think I can do this if it's not really going too fast. Looking back, was that really safe? No, that wasn't safe. But I didn't understand safety guidelines. Didn't know what it was. And so, if I don't know what it is, then I could live in an unsafe manner. Parents say, don't play in the street. This is why? It's big, it's open, why not? It's because you could get what? Hurt. Or it's not wise to play in the street. And you don't want to be dumb, so you want to be wise. So you need to know what the safety guidelines are. Philippians 3:1. Now I think as a Christian, you live in a time and society, what have you, you got to play it safe. You should be safe in what you do and what you believe in. I'm not really concerned about learning everything new or a new doctrine or a new this. I'm more concerned if I'm doing what I already know I should be doing. Why do I need something new when I haven't even done the old? Some people want a new revelation and they don't even pay attention to the revelations they already have. Right? Why should you get something new when you're not even taking care of the old? So the goal in life, this is what Paul was writing to the Philippian church. He says, finally, my brother and sister, rejoice in the Lord. He says, now what you are supposed to be doing, your goal, is to be rejoicing in the Lord. Rejoice. He says, for me to write the same thing to you is not tedious. He's like, so he's already wrote it to him more than once. He says, now what you're supposed to be doing is rejoicing in the Lord. It's like when a parent tells their kid, hey, did you make your bed? And they said, I will, which is just like saying, I haven't. Then you need to go do that first. I will. but that means you haven't. So Paul says, hey, don't forget, you're supposed to be rejoicing in the Lord. Not in your football team, not in your sports team, not in your social media. And it is funny, somebody made a point. They said, when I had a diary, I would lock it up so nobody would read it. Nowadays, they want to put everything online, and if somebody doesn't read it, they get mad. Like, you didn't like it, you didn't follow me, you didn't comment, you didn't share. It's like, well, this is backwards compared to what it used to be. But he says, I'm writing this to you so that you are what? Safe. But for you, it is safe. And sometimes, as much as we want to live on the wild side, when it comes to the things of God, he wants you to be what? Safe. And one big reason we want to be safe, here he says it this way in the Amplified. He says, continue to rejoice and delight yourself in the Lord. I write the same thing again to you. It's no trouble for me, but this is a safeguard for you. So, he wants you and me to be safe. And these are one of the guidelines to keep you safe is to be what? Rejoicing in the Lord. And if we're rejoicing in him, then we're not grumbling, we're not complaining, we're not full of strife, we're not unforgiving. Can you be a rejoicing, unforgiving person? They don't go together. They don't match, right? So he's saying, for you, it is safe. I wish we all would be safe. In other words, I wish we would all be constantly rejoicing in the Lord. This is your protection. This is a guide to keep you in line, or a guideline to make sure you're safe as you're traveling through the earth. Is to be what? Rejoicing in the Lord. Yes. To be happy. Yes. Full of joy. Right? Actually, this verse is really amazing. It gives you a boundary to live within. One day we were driving from here to Oklahoma, and this part of Oklahoma that we were going through, that's, like it's in the country, and it has this big, nice building with a fence around it, a couple rows of fencing, with a couple rows of barbed wire, with gates and police and guards, and a sign that says, don't pick up a hitchhiker, because they could be an escaped prisoner. So when we go by that building, the question is, why do they have a fence around that building? It's because there's so many people trying to get in there. No, it's to keep the people who are in there from getting out. Not just keep you from getting in, but to keep you what? Safe. So there's a boundary they don't want you to go into, because when you cross that line, it could be what? Unsafe. Just like when, when I was a kid, we had these things prohibited. Electric shock, don't climb the poles, right? We have nothing to do in my neighborhood. We're before internet, right? We have to think of something. Something to do. So hey, don't touch this. You could get what? Shocked. And I remember one time I was going to school, and my wife and I, we lived in an apartment, and so we had to do the laundry. So I said, okay, we'll go do the laundry in the apartment laundromat, right? In the apartment, they have this laundry facility. So we had 2 loads of laundry, and I put the coins in, and I wanted to see which one of these washing machines would last longer. So I'll start them at the same time. So I pushed them both in, and when I went to pull them out, I guess one of them wasn't grounded. So I went like this, and I went to pull it out, and it threw me up against the dryers behind me, and I fell to the floor, and I'm like, oh, I'm hurting. My wife is laughing. I'm like, I can't believe I married you, or I can't believe you're laughing. My heart hurts. Oh, yeah, we got to fix that because it's not working. Something was wrong with the wiring, and you were the ground. But I threw me back. I thought, you know what? I figured out something. It's not safe to do that. Normally, maybe, but I never did it again. I had a new guideline in my life. I don't want to be shocked. It was a shocking revelation of how much it hurt. What am I saying? I'm saying that in life, there's boundaries for your what? Protection and for your safety. And we want to take advantage of the safe boundaries before there's an accident, not after. We don't want to live with regret, right? You want to take advantage. Well, I think like this. How many bad things have to happen before you make a change? Like, what bad thing has to happen before you say, oh, maybe I should change? How bad does it have to be? You know, we talk about giving flowers while people are alive. They don't smell the roses when they pass. So why wait until, oh, I wanted to do something for them? Well, what are you going to do? Nothing, because they're not here. Right? So you have to think about, what would I want to do while they're living? If I was going to do it for them when they passed, do it while they're living. Right? But how many bad things in your life have to happen before you or I will make a change? Like, I don't want any bad thing. Well, make a change then. Why wait? Play it safe so you're not, what? Sorry. Remember that? Remember as a kid, you always would say, better safe than sorry. But then as an adult, you go, well, it's better sorry than to be safe. It's like, what happened? What happened?